Hi there, I'm Kendall Park, an assistant professor at Vanderbilt's Owen Graduate School of Management, and today I'm going to talk about this project looking at triple bottom line leadership, specifically looking at how diversity and sustainability leaders shape corporate performance. This quick presentation is for the PDW How Theories and Measurement of Social Impact Matter in Research at the 2021 AOM conference. So I'm going to start by giving you a quick overview of this project, but I'm going to spend most of my time talking about how we're defining social impact and why. So this project came about because my co-authors and I noticed this rapid growth in titles like Chief Diversity Officer, Vice President of Sustainability, right? Director of CSR, these kinds of titles among large corporations. And the rise of these positions really reflects an increasing focus on the triple bottom line, on people, planet, and profit. And so in this project, we ask whether the presence of these positions leads to better social, environmental, and financial outcomes, and what characteristics of the firm and the role actually moderate that relationship. So we use data from LinkedIn, Sustainalytics, Bloomberg, Asset4, and CompuStat to build a unique data set to examine how these leaders shape these organizational outcomes in an attempt to disentangle the relationship between social and environmental outcomes on the one hand and financial outcomes on the other. So we really had three main questions, right? First, does triple bottom line leadership improve social performance? Do companies with diversity leaders have more diverse workforces, right? Do companies with sustainability leaders have better environmental footprints, right? So do these leadership positions actually create substantive social change? Second, does it improve financial performance? Right? Appointing one of these leaders, a chief diversity officer, for example, might signal to important stakeholders that the firm values non-financial outcomes. And that could ultimately pay off, even without seeing some of those substantive changes. And then lastly, triple bottom line leaders might improve financial performance, not by sending a signal, but actually by improving social performance, right? And then those social improvements pay off, right? So we test to see whether the effect on financial performance is mediated by social performance. And I've been talking a lot about social performance, but what do I mean by that, right? How are we measuring social impact in this study? Previous studies of this kind of leadership tend to lump all of these positions together, right? So any positions with the words sustainability, CSR, ethics, diversity, they call those, chief sustainability officers, and then they measure whether appointing one of those leaders has an effect on social performance. But they operationalize social performance using these broad overall ESG scores, right? Specifically these, KLD, CSR performance scores. But we actually define social impact more precisely. We separate out these different kinds of roles, right? So do sustainability leaders lead to better environmental outcomes? Do they reduce a company's carbon footprint, for example? Do diversity leaders help companies actually become more diverse, right? Do they lead to having, more minorities in positions of power, in management positions in a company? So here's what our data look like. We measure triple bottom line leadership in terms of presence, number, tenure, and experience of leaders. That data comes from LinkedIn. And then we also have the social impact data, which we pull from Sustainalytics, Asset4, and Bloomberg. We also have, data on financial performance, but I'm not really going to talk about that as much today, but that comes from CompuStat. We operationalized triple bottom line professionals as every possible combination of position title and triple bottom line keyword. So, we have diversity leaders, sustainability leaders, and CSR leaders for all these different kinds of titles. And then we had research assistants search LinkedIn for every possible combination of those terms for every Fortune 500 company on the 2019 Fortune list. And so that means that we captured anyone who's ever held any of those positions at any of those companies. And then we collected all this data on those leaders, right? How long they've held that position, how long they've been in the company, how long they've worked in diversity and sustainability, what their relevant expertise or experience is. And then for outcomes, right, we have diversity variables for our diversity professionals, and the Sustainalytics data give us some really specific outcome measures, right? Percentage of women in management, minorities in management. We also have their overall social score, right? Asset 4 gives us a diversity and opportunity score. So we have a bunch of interesting outcomes here to choose from, and we test them all just to test for robustness. Same kind of deal with sustainability outcome variables, right? We have these kind of fine-grained outcomes that we think are important, like greenhouse gas emissions, energy consumption. We also have Sustainalytics overall environment score, which is like a composite score. Asset 4 has something similar. We probably won't be using the Bloomberg disclosure score because we think that it's a little bit too blunt an instrument, this disclosure thing, but we'll be using it just, to test for robustness. And then of course we have, financial outcome variables as well that I'm just not going to spend time talking about today. So we're using a fixed effects model to determine, right, the relationship between number, tenure, experience of triple bottom line leadership and these, social and financial outcomes. So ultimately, we found that diversity and sustainability leadership both improve financial performance, that diversity leadership improves diversity outcomes across a wide range of measures. Sustainability leadership improves environmental outcomes, but there's no evidence that the effect of triple bottom line leadership on financial performance is mediated by social performance, which is just to say we see an effect for, substantive change, we see an effect for signaling, but it doesn't yet seem to be the case that that financial performance is a product of, right, that substantive change that's also happening. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm really looking forward to your questions and hearing more from the rest of the panelists.